Hello everybody, I'm Linespace. This is I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. We're here on note-taking. Let's go out into Glow. Oh my god, hi. Hi. Glow events are cool. I'm sorry you missed the first year of them. Hopefully we see some of them again. Come across a strange glowing river in the sky, floating just over the mushroom-capped treetops. It reminds you of old Earth vids about the Milky Way or the Northern Lights. It undulates, way to the left and right, a river of luminous mist. Beneath it, a curtain, tiny glowing particles slowly rain down into the forest below. Follow it. It seems to be denser to the left and flowing slowly to the right. You decide to head left, towards what must be the source. You stray from the path. The ground is hard to traverse in the dim phosphorescence. The river gets denser and starts to shimmer a little, like the spore clouds you see sometimes in pollen. You're careful not to get too close to the particles raining down from it. The mist seems to be coming from somewhere near the ground, somewhere up ahead. It's something big and moving. The strange river of light is flowing from something on the next plateau. It's heading east and trailing this glowing dust. There's some kind of spore maybe behind it. Go down to the ravine here and try to keep following it, or safely cross into the Erie stream and continue where you were headed before. Oh, we're gonna cross under it, because I know from last year, that just disappears. You stay low and move quickly beneath the eerie glowing mist. By the time you reach another point where you could observe it, it's dissipated. Oh no! Okay. We'll have at least one more year of trying to see what else that event has to offer. You're amazed at how peaceful it is out here. It's not what you expected. You stay outside of the watchtowers and slip between the mush trees. It's eerily silent, as if the forest is holding its breath in anticipation. It really is pretty out here, with all the plants and animals glowing, especially the wormhole filling the sky above you. Gaze up at the wormhole, gets us timey-wimey wormhole stuff. Admire the flora in detail, gives us It's All Too Beautiful. We did gaze up at the wormhole last time, technically, but we'll do it again. Because, again, you missed it. Oh. Crane your head up to look at the wormhole. It's so big you begin to feel dizzy, and end up stumbling over a bit of gnarled root. Ouch! As you're lying on your back in pain, you're still transfixed by the wormhole. It's dark against a dark sky, but as it moves, it shimmers with a million colors churning in slow, fluid motion around the perfectly black hole in the center. Wow. Though you can't see it, you've been told the wormhole high above is shining with ultraviolet light. It's invisible to the human eye, but absorbed and re-emitted as visible light by the flora and fauna around you. Your hollow palm calls it a black light, and says that people on Earth used to use similar, much more concentrated light as decoration. Even your clothing glows faintly. More crystal clusters. We have so many collectibles, nothing will ever challenge us. Come to a dense part of the path where the gnarled wood surrounds you and blocks out the sky and the wormhole above. Long threads that look like hair are hanging down from the trees. Strange. You've never seen this during the rest of the year. You'll have to go through these. Take a closer look. The strands are sticky, like a spider's web. So sticky and thick, in fact, that you'd be caught if you tried to push your way through it. Cut my way through it. Your skill with a plas cutter comes in handy, as you're able to cut a viscous-sized hole through the sticky hairs without accidentally getting them all over yourself. Seriously, this stuff is like super glue, and the strands are extremely tough. You get a small piece on your pants and are pretty sure it's never, ever coming off. I watch a lot of Loading Ready Run. They're actually the ones who introduced me to this game, and I have heard stories of a similar situation with one of the kinds of tape that work with that you'll do mic work with sometimes. This area is dotted with huge circles of glowing mushrooms, each one nearly a meter in diameter. The bare grass in the center of the circles looks remarkably lush. Let's take a close look. You crouch down to analyze the mushrooms. It's a species you don't recognize, but your hollow palm reports that they live most of the year underground and only pop up during glow season. This close, you notice that the entire area inside the circle is sunken, and the grass has been flattened, almost like a footprint. What would be big enough to make this? You decide not to wait around to find out. I guess it makes sense that the Unisaur shows up this late into the game, because this is also the point in the game when you start getting cards that want to work together with others, such as that one wanting to work with mind cards. Shadows upon shadows move against each other and glow, wavering under the gloaming of the mush trees like ghosts. The forest is as still as a creature breathing its last breath. You know to look for Sim in the hollows of the trees now. His eyes gleam in the permanent night. Hello again, Sugarbug, he chuckles. You're getting pretty good at navigating in the dark. Sim sets off through the darkened forest with ease, bidding you to follow. I begin to ask me more questions. Is Noctilucent the one attacking us? Sim smiles and looks off into the distance. Ah, so you've met. My condolences. Their views are difficult to hold within myself, though I understand them implicitly. Noctilucent is responsible for invasive species management, Sim adds. So yes, repelling you falls under their domain. The most obvious method, as you've noticed, is the yearly attacks, though there are other, subtle methods to discourage growth. Plague and famine, for example. Oh my god. That has an implication that the famine is not just our own difficulties. It doesn't need to be this way, he sighs. Although that also makes me curious if the shimmer was, like, targeted to hurt us. Sim starts walking. As far as I know, it's not. Like, my understanding of the shimmer is that that's definitely not the case. Sim stops walking and smiles politely. Well, that is enough for now. Trees have ears, you know. Hello, Faceless. Your explorations lead you steadily upward until you find yourself on the plateau overlooking the colony. The colony is a dark little smudge below, a break in the magnificent natural luminescence of glow. From up here, the wormhole feels so close you could touch it. You're not alone up here. Your heart leaps into your throat as you spot it, silhouetted dark on dark under the eerie light of the wormhole, a Faceless. Stay to watch it. Atop this high plateau ringed by gnarlwood trees, the massive creature stands staring at the sky. As you watch, mesmerized, some of its swaying tentacles open up, and a glowing dust oozes from them, rising like smoke into the sky. Then, it's gone. The whole entire Faceless just vanished in the blink of an eye. Or did you just imagine it? You rub your face, easing the sudden tension that has sprung up behind your eyeballs. You approach where it was standing. There are footsteps here, giant footsteps, each ringed with mushrooms, pushed up from the moist soil by the weight of the beast. You gingerly realize you're standing in the middle of one. The Faceless, if indeed one was standing here earlier, would crush you as flat as the grass beneath your feet. You find other signs of it. Trees have been knocked down in a circular pattern here, and the bushes and grasses have been pushed up into one big mound, leaving the rest of the plateau clear. You remember this place now, from your visions, from under the pyramid and the wet resting ridges. God, that name sucks so much. And from long before that, you feel as if you've always known. Something important will happen here. Soon. Wait. Uh-oh. Oh, we got 40 stress! You stare up at the wormhole immense in the sky above, just as you remember doing in your vision. You wait. Wait again. Wait. You wait. You yawn and check your hollow palm. It's hard to keep track of time during glow, but it's getting late. You still look around, but nothing has changed. The trees are perfectly still. Wait. Wait. You wait. The wormhole seems especially huge right now. Is it always so big? You imagine you can see whole galaxy in its slowly spinning arms. Tiny flecks of rainbow light being sucked into the black hole in the center. So much closer in the galaxy. So close it could swallow you and all of Autumnant in its hungry, ethereal maw. Wait. 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 You wait. The forest seems to get quieter, as if it's expecting something. The wormhole swells as you stare and stare into its depths. It's been hours. It's now well past the middle of the night. You're exhausted, but you can't look away. You feel hypnotized. Wait. 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 You've always been waiting. You will always be waiting, staring up at the wormhole, being sucked into its depths. A shadow falls over you. Oh, hell. You slowly lower your gaze from where you've been staring at the wormhole for hours. Your neck stiff and sore. Straight ahead of you, what you'd earlier thought was just the shadow of a tree is the Faceless. It was there all along, watching you. It's a heavy step forward, then another. It moves gently, its feet sinking into the soft ground and pushing up phosphorescent fungi from below to explode to the surface in rings of jubilant light. You don't move as it approaches. It took all your energy to look away from the wormhole, but you're still completely spellbound. Faceless looms over you, as big as a building. Its zippered neck gapes grotesquely, and its tentacles wave gently through the air, tasting it, feeling it, smelling it, smelling you. The ends of two tentacles open. That strange glowing mist floats up from them. It leans down. envelops you in its tentacles, each as large as you are, and you breathe in its spores. Under the eternal night sky of glow, the wormhole seems to swallow you both whole. The entire planet, an infinite number of universes besides. You feel a beckoning within you, a curious tug somewhere in your ribcage, or yearning you can't describe. So this was the first end I got, and it's basically us transcending, going into a coma, and eventually just dying in said coma, while our consciousness flits between all of our different timelines. It's kind of amazing, but we're gonna say no. You aren't ready. A small part of you demands to stay here, on this plane of consciousness. Hold your breath and bring your mind back to the present. Let the Faceless touch you softly with its tentacles until it seems satisfied that you've made your decision. Then it withdraws. As you slowly disconnect from the gentle creature, you can feel its emotions, its story. You understand that it was born like the others of its kind, in a breeding tank below the ground. Although it was sent here to destroy your colony, something changed, and that can't be changed back. You see again the image of the Faceless staring up at the wormhole, transfixed as you were. It no longer feels the pull of the ley lines, the thumpers, the forces that were used to control it. It is no longer a construct or an avatar, but a free being. It only feels the dance of the wormhole now, and the natural rhythms of life itself. You stand completely still, arrested by the sudden understanding that sweeps over you. The Faceless retreats to the large mound of grasses and bushes at the other end of the plateau. A baby Faceless pokes its head out of the nest, wriggling its tentacles in greeting to its mother. So I'm just gonna... I was a huge MTG player. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I have problems with the current product, but Emrakul is one of the most important elements of that game to me, and it still holds a lot of emotional weight. I'm just going to assume a Faceless is what happens when a world actually embraces Emrakul. For those that don't understand what that means, just look up what Emrakul looks like. It'll become obvious. You're back. Excuse me. I need water. You're heading to bed when the sirens begin to wail, heralding the beginning of the yearly xenofauna attack. Outside your window, you see the soldiers begin to form up. This year, Nem is heading up her own squad. You see her red hair bobbing along with the others as she rushes to defend the walls. Rush out after her! Nem looks at you in surprise, but nods when she sees you're ready to fight. Someone hands you a plas rifle, and you join her squad on the walls. You stand shoulder to shoulder with Nem and watch the Xenos mass on the far side of the fire break. Look at them all, she says darkly. They just keep coming. More and more every year. What are they even waiting for? Why don't they just attack already? She shoots a look at the rest of her squad, all of them Helios, mostly young adults like you, and lowers her voice. Just want to get it over with, you know, she confides in you. These Helios learned to march before they could walk. I want to prove I can handle myself as well as they can. Runs her fingers down the barrel of her plas rifle, where she stenciled the name Kombucha. I appreciate that she has it stenciled why she fights, but it's so miserable that the memory of her brother has turned into a weapon of death. It would have been her own misery if we hadn't helped her. A lowing from the forest draws your attention back to the enemy line. The wall of animals is approaching in eerie unison, their footsteps drumming a rumbling tattoo across the ground. Nem clutches her rifle tightly. Okay. Here goes. The animals approach the wall at a steady pace, but stop short of the walls. Instead, they mill around outside the colony, near the garrison. In the eerie silence, you hear the sudden crackle of plas rifle fire, and a flying creature falls to the ground. You hear Security Chief Red from his post on the walls, telling his squad to hold their fire. His voice rings through the still, expectant air. The Xenos are just standing there. It's so quiet. The animals appear to be waiting for something. The uncomfortable impasse stretches into minutes until finally Nem tilts her head like she's hearing orders through her hearspeak. Okay, we're going to attack them, she says, her voice lilting up almost as if it's a question. Helio-born squadmates look at her with unsure expressions, but Nem nods. Yeah, to the walls! Open fire! They were waiting for the bomb. Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom! Ah, vintage meme. I actually don't know how vintage that one is at this point. Well, okay, no, sorry. I know it's vintage. I know it's an older one. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. Okay, so it turns the other ones wild, not their values wild? No. Okay, no, sorry. Their values are still wild. Means if I go this and this... Yeah, we'll take it. +5 combat. +1 colony defense. And the other is open fire, joined by other squads at other points in the walls. Creatures continue to mill around as they're cut down by a hail of crackling plas rifle fire, seemingly unbothered. It's not until a few minutes pass that the creatures seem to wake up, in a sense, breaking from their holding pattern and beginning to batter the walls as usual. Flying creatures begin to soar overhead, landing in the courtyard and attacking from within. You stay on the walls and pick off what you can, trying to keep the creatures from forming a living pyramid to scale the walls. You can hear the battering of their bodies against the gates from here, and the commotion as the gate defenders rally to keep it shut. Governor Lum comes charging up to Nem. "I need command of your squad," he says. "I'm taking them down to the courtyard to engage the enemy directly." "My squad?" Nem stammers. She looks conflicted. Lum is the governor and outranks her as a soldier. But he's Lum. His plan is bound to be dangerous or even suicidal. The rest of the squad are Helioborn, yes, but they're also just teenagers, like you. Don't you need us up here, supporting defenders from the walls? She chances to suggest. Oh my god, if we just... we could just be like, let's ask Rhett. Rhett's the one who's better at this. Yeah, we're more useful up here. As usual, rebellion. Lum doesn't look convinced, but your support emboldens them. She stands up straighter and hardens her expression. "I can't send my people into close combat," she says firmly. We're trained for range defense, not melee." The governor looks at... My brain just had a moment debating over whether to say melee or melee. The governor looks at your squad mates, but none of them make a move to follow him. He curls his lip in disgust and stalks away. Your squad remains on the wall, defending them against being breached by Xenos and picking off the flying ones before they can land in the courtyard. The gates stay standing, and after an hour, the attack ends, as quietly as it began, with the remaining Xenos slinking back into the forest from whence they came. In the quiet following the battle, the colony comes out of hiding to gather in the courtyard, surveying the damage. Everyone looks weary, but you survived another year, and with remarkably few casualties. As the gates are secured and people begin to pick through the mass of xenobodies, you spot Dis watching from up on the walls. As he meets your eyes from a distance, you wonder how tonight's battle might have gone if you hadn't stopped him from planting that bomb. Yeah, the battle side of this seems like it must be absolutely insane if Dis's bomb goes off. Can't even imagine what that's like. Alright. New year. New year, and we're already super stressed. And no one wants to talk to us. Fine, I don't want to talk to any of you anyways. Sorry, know me, I lie. Know me, have crystal. Oh. You're walking through the colony when you see a blur of color and motion at the corner of your vision. Bang! Nomi collides with you in a catastrophe of flailing limbs and high-pitched squealing, sending you both sprawling to the ground. "Oh my gosh!" Nomi exclaims. They immediately get to their hands and knees and begin to collect their papers and exploded out of their hands when they fell. "I'm so sorry. Sometimes my brain is off doing its own thing and I don't watch where I'm running." "Ah!" they exclaim, dusting off their piece of toast and shoving it back in their mouth. Damn it. Gotta eat breakfast, even when you're late. Don't even worry about it. Nomi giggles and continues to collect their scattered papers, their faces bright red. "Okay, if you say so. Thanks, Vissa. Maybe if I had a genetic enhancement like everyone else, I would be able to watch where I'm going." Nomi gets to their feet and offers you a hand up, then brushes the dust off of you. "I actually don't know what my genetic enhancement is, or, even if I have one at all. My parents decided to lock my medical files from when I was a baby, because they had this wild idea that they want me to grow up without feeling like I'd be, perfect. They think it's rude for parents to make that choice for their kids. Not all it's cracked up to be, not all it's cracked up to be. The pressure is not always fun." "That's easy for you to say, Miss I have cool superpowers," Nomi exclaims, putting their hand on their hip and sticking their tongue out at you. "The rest of us have to get by on our wits and charm." Nomi wriggles her eyebrows. "Maybe I'm just like galactic cyber prince Umiyama, and one day a talking Hopeye will come tell me I have to defeat the Mecha Ultra Nether Beings, and now I'm thinking about Madoka. No, Madoka. Whoa. Names are hard. Nomi starts walking with you, talking animatedly with their hands. I know my parents just wanted me to grow up, to know that I can be anything I want to be when I grow up, and I don't have to be super strong or super smart in order to be happy. They always told me nothing and nobody knows what's good for Nomi except Nomi, and I really think that's true. They stop and turn to you, looking serious for the moment. Sometimes it does kind of feel like, well, Nomi squints up into the sky. Sometimes I wonder if I'm only good at something because I have some kind of secret advantage I don't know about. Or sometimes I think the opposite. Like if I'm not very good at something, I'll feel angry because maybe I could have been good at it. It was really bad on the Helio because everyone is really good at something. Usually things like marching and shooting stuff. Thought maybe it would feel different here, where there are people with all kinds of skills, but they sigh. No matter what I try, someone is already way better at it. I just feel like I just suck at everything. I'm so sorry, Nomi. That's part of why the kind of content I want to make means so much to me. I don't want to just tell people things. I don't want to do the thinking for them. I want to help get people thinking. I want to help introduce different perspectives. I want to help people expand their own views to make something better. Either a creative something or just themselves. That's how I live my life, and I actually really feel where Nomi's coming from because to this day I don't know if I'm a talented speaker or if I'm not or anything like that. I know I get compliments on it all the time, but I'm always worried that it's just a big fish in a small pond situation. Yay, imposter syndrome. Everyone sucks at first. It's the first step to being kind of good at something, Nomi says brightly. That's from a show I used to watch, and I guess I don't suck at everything. You strike a pose with an imaginary laser pistol. I'm really good at laser fable. Pew pew. Nomi, you're precious. Stay precious. Let's spend some time together. Please reduce my stress. Nem checks the time on her holopalm and smiles. Yeah, I think I can swing that. You avoid Vase. You walk hand in hand with Nem from the garrison, passing Vase as you go. He gives you a venomous look, like he's barely keeping himself from spitting on both of you. Nem breathes a sigh of relief when you're outside. It's so awkward when I'm always around, she says. He's not over the fact that you and I are dating now. Despite that, or perhaps despite Face, you and Nem enjoy a perfectly pleasant walk through the colony, talking about things that don't concern him at all, considering how much the two of them sucked Face, and I can't even get a peck. Okay, yes, we did make out when we got together, don't worry, I'm feeling weirdly defensive of... Yeah, no, it feels kind of gross to comment on that. On whether or not we should be making out or things like that. I hate that I commented on it to begin with, so... I could do lots of self-discovery on these streams. Just because of the fact that I haven't actually talked my way through a lot of this stuff before, and now I'm saying it out loud for the first time after having learned a lot about myself, and it's always just a matter of going, no. So we are still doing the thing of, I'm just here for the yellows. We don't have the stress reducers needed to be able to explore like crazy and also do anything else. So I'm trying to make sure that we have the stress we need to do other things as well, because this is the last year. The game ends when we turn 20. And... oh, well, I didn't mean to do that. You're scaling a huge rock plateau when you're suddenly overcome with an incredible feeling of peace. You've never felt anything like this. You literally feel lighter, like all your troubles have been lifted away. Feeling is stronger when you touch the rocky surface and you realize it's radiating from the rock. And Dis is here. Dis is sunning himself on top of the rock, stripped down to his shirt. He looks up at you as your shadow falls over him. Oh, he says slowly. Found it too, huh? Oh, this must be the place Dis told you about. His favorite place on the planet, the rock that makes him feel happy. You know how he feels now. He shades his eyes from the sun as he looks up at you. I haven't told anyone about this place, he says. Well, except you. That's how they get you, you know, he says. Once they know you love something, they can use it to control you. Who's they? His gestures lazily, you know. People, the world, life, he says. I like this place because it feels like it's somewhere I'm not just hogging a machine, you know? You're going to keep it a secret though, right? This asks. I don't want this place dug up and studied. It'll ruin it. He scowls. People always ruin things, especially researchers. Some things you don't need to understand. Okay, it's our secret. You do take a few readings though, just because. All data is important. Mark down the location, but fudge the coordinates so anyone they send out afterwards will get lost. I wonder if the rock is natural. Animals seem to really like it. As you're taking readings, you watch a swarm of Dorb's moth basking on the rock as well, just like Dis. Then you lie down on the rock beside Dis, letting the strange magic fill you with an incredible sense of peace, love, and unity with the universe. I mean, if I'm gonna accidentally click to have an event happen, I'm glad it's one that reduced our stress. So, you know, we take that. To be fair, so part of why I also want to come out and do a whole bunch of exploring this year is because I'm guessing that it's the number of times you run into Sim that gets his relationship level up. And I'd like to get him to 100. Because, you know, alien friend seems like they're important. Yeah, by the way, the finale for the social run comes at Verminalia, which makes the second half of this particular year feel really lame. Oh, speaking of lame, that sucks. That... Like, okay, I get it. There's probably nothing else the game really has for us out there at this point, since we've explored the temple completely, but that still kind of sucks. As usual for this time of year, your dreams have been more vibrant and invasive. You have trouble distinguishing dream from reality during the day, and you dread falling asleep at night. Huh. How did that Hawkeye get into your room? Follow it. You chase it out your balcony door, and find yourself on a thickly wooded path, the mushwood pressing in close on every side. The light is weird here, pink and glittering, casting teal shadows. The Hawkeye disappears down a hole in the ground, and without thinking, you dive after it, squeezing your shoulders to fit through. You tumble into a cave, beautiful and surreal, shimmering with a light that seems to come from within. When you take a step forward, granules of pink sand crunch underfoot. The cave opens out to a forest that seems lifted from a fairy tale. The sunlight beams through breaks in the trees, illuminating a path of mushroom-ringed stepping stones that lead you to a small cottage. You spot the Hawkeye hurrying further down the path. Follow the Hawkeye. Past the cottage is a field dotted with hunched-over figures. You watch them tend the crops with simple, robotic motions, not caring as you tromp through their work. Their straw hats and overalls look tattered, and when you pass close to one, you realize they're not human at all. They're made of metal. Sightless glass eyes stare back at you, metal faces pockmarked with rust. The grasp of their terrible creaking floods your ears like a cloud of cicadas. The closest robot turns to you. Its glass eyes shine red, and it grabs you by the wrist. The grip is painful, bringing you to your knees in the loamy dirt. It pushes you down, planting you like a seed. The ground swallows you. You can't even cry out. Falling. You land hard on solid ground, your breath whooshing from you. It's hot here, impossibly hot. The twin suns beat down on you, burning your skin on contact, and the air is almost painful to breathe. In all directions stretches a barren wasteland of dead trees like bones puncturing the dry skin of the planet. You rise from the dusty, cracked earth and begin to walk, stumbling over the bones of unknown creatures. You don't know where you're walking, only that the horizon doesn't change. The red sky just stretches overhead like a great bowl of heat pressing down on you. A great roar shakes you, and you turn to see a chimeric nightmare, a manticore, but with Governor Lum's face. He towers over you from a podium, his claws clacking and his tail thrashing as he proselytizes. "We primeval forests felling," he chants. "We the rivers stemming, piercing deep the mines within. We the surface broad surveying, we the virgin soil upheaving." Overhead the sky is streaked with smoke. You're rumbling in the distance. Stand to face it. You plant your legs and refuse to look away from the beast. With a yell from behind you, Mars appears and swings a sword made of light at the Lum abomination. Its head rolls across the dirt, but it continues to speak. You turn from the scene and walk away, feeling the memory of it cling to you as you push and claw your way through to another reality. You stumble forwards into a dark, glowing forest. Blessedly cool air brushes your cheeks, thick with moisture and making your face wet as if you've been crying. The path wends upwards, flanked by humanoid figures carrying candles. Some are wearing robes, some armor, some lab coats and envirosuits and formal wear. Some are elderly, and some are barely 10 years old. All turn to look at you, and you realize with a jolt, they're you. Every single one of them is you. You see yourself reflected in their eyes as they gaze upon you dispassionately, a line of possibilities stretching out as far as you can see. A hop-eye crouches between the ranks and gazes solemnly out as you pass. You walk steadily upward, feeling their unflinching gaze follow you. Overhead, the wormhole hangs in the sky like an overripe fruit, bending the heavy branch of space and time towards you. It's so close. You feel as if you could touch it. Stretch your hand out, seeking. You wake up. Gain status insomnia. No! I want to get my biology to max. Milky, quiet sunlight pours through your window, flakes of bromide snow piling up against the glass. You feel as tired as when you went to bed. It's your birthday. You're 19 years old. Only one more year as a teenager. Okay, so I'm assuming that Mars is basically wrapped up because we're just not in a position where we know what to do to fix the situation with her. Share with Tammy. I think it might honestly be possible if you're adventuring constantly to actually get everybody to max friendship just by throwing things at their faces constantly. I don't know if that's actually true. It certainly feels true. Hey, Dis. You can't find Dis outside the walls, even though the duty roster has him working on the expedition vehicles today. After asking around, one of his crewmates points you to where she'd just seen him disappear in the forest just 10 minutes ago. You thank her and set off into the wilderness. You've picked up a few things about tracking after hanging out with Dis for so long, so you follow his trail into the nearby mushwood forest until you hear him, speaking calm and slow. Shh, it's going to be okay. Just let me help you. You follow his voice to find him kneeling on the ground next to a wounded hop-eye. The scent of blood and animal fear colors the air. Dis's knife glints as he pulls it from its sheath. Don't worry, he says to the creature. Got you. It won't hurt anymore. Soon. This is what we get from max friendship with Dis. A branch snaps under your foot and Dis's head jerks up. His eyes go wide but he doesn't greet you. Instead, gestures for you to get a closer look at the hop-eye. Its single leg is mangled beyond recognition from a hunter's snap trap and it's bleeding heavily. You can only stare up at Dis, defeat in its 4 eyes. It struggles once more, then goes still from the exertion, wheezing miserably. They tell everyone they're humane traps, Dis murmurs. But humans lie, don't they? They lie all the time. The hunters won't be back to check the traps until tomorrow, Dis continues, looking down at the hop-eye with a grim expression. I have to put it out of its misery. I'll do it. Dis hands his knife to you and moves aside. You kneel and take the small, terrified creature in your arms, and with one clear cut, you slice through its neck. It tenses, twitching in fear reflex, and goes limp. You hand the knife back to Dis. Dis is quiet at your side for a long time, breathing evenly in through his nose and out through his mouth, but like he's meditating. It's better to die quickly than to suffer in a trap. But there shouldn't have been a trap in the first place, he says eventually. He clicks his tongue against his teeth. It's pointless. It's going to die eventually, but not here. Not natural. It's not the death part that bothers me, it's our vanity. Humans are so afraid of extinction that they'll kill indiscriminately to avoid it. So this is my problem with both Cal and Dis, and I think it says something about the authors of this game. I get the feeling that the sub-member of the team, if not a majority of the team, are pacifists themselves, because that is absolutely the mentality the game takes, and this game is massively political with some very strong stances, and this is a stance I just can't get behind. Death is typically wasteful. Even the animals we raise as livestock are more often than not a waste of resources compared to the farmland and such that it takes space to raise them. That's not universally true, and it's not a simple question to answer. And the game uses the teenagers as a blunt object to try and send these messages, which honestly makes it kind of hard to know how nuanced the actual authors of the game are or aren't with these messages. Because again, teenagers are going to be blunt like this. They're not going to be more nuanced. But it does make it a little bit hard to deal with. Thankfully, it's not everything for all these characters, but Cal in particular gets really hard to deal with. Dis takes out a cloth and wipes the Hop-Eye's blood off his blade, his movements slow and reverent. I used to let it control me, too. But dying meant that living was pointless, he continues. But now I know the truth. Life is short and brutal and hard. It's up to us to fill it with as many experiences as we can. We're going to spend our lives cooped up in the colony, subjugating nature because it strikes fear into our animal brains. He smiles faintly. Or are we going to get out there, live the only life we've been given? Sorry, just as a note on that whole topic, I grew up in Alaska. There's a lot of fishing up there. There's a lot of people who say that anytime we humans hunt, it's wasteful. I only think it's wasteful when you don't eat what you catch. In the case of fishing, which happens so much in Alaska, you're either doing catch and release or you're catching and then you're taking the fish home with you. That's not wasteful. That is us taking part in the ecosystem. Yeah, catch and release traumatizes the fish to no small degree, but no matter what, we're not wasting it. And that's why things like, that's why when people do things like go out on helicopters and shoot down a bunch of wolves, potentially ruining the meat and things like that, that bothers me deeply, actually. Especially since it's typically done in an effort to exterminate the wolves. Welcome to the Alaskan me coming out. There's... how we interact with the environment is important, but just this preachy, we should never kill, and anytime we kill, it's completely meaningless. That's not true. Because protecting our settlements is something that is perfectly reasonable. It's when we go hunting beyond that becomes a problem. Man, the game talks about so much I can't help but feel the need to actually address it finally. He looks down at the corpse of the Hop-Eye and lays his hand gently against his head. We're all going to end up like this in the end. There's no use denying it, letting the fear of it control our actions. I agree completely. You're probably the only other person here who does, Dis replies. That's why we get along, I guess. Dis lifts the Hop-Eye's body into his arms and rises to his feet. The smell of death will attract animals right into the other traps, he says, and I'm not taking it back to the colony to be stuffed into a recycler. We have to take it into the woods and give it back to nature. You and Dis walk further into the forest in respectful silence, Dis cradling the dead Hop-Eye against his chest. Eventually he tells you to wait while he finds the tracks of a predator and lays it down nearby, and offering the forest accepts without acknowledgement. He turns to you, bloodstained and solemn. It's done, he says. I love that they didn't have him bury it. Too often they have these naturalist characters bury dead animal bodies, and it's so stupid every single time. I love that he put it somewhere where a predator should be able to find it quickly and eat it. You begin the walk back to the colony, though it's clear Dis is taking his time. After a few minutes of walking, he turns to you and grabs your arm, forcing you to stop and look at him. Vissa, he says, his eyes burning. Promise, you won't let me end up like that Hop-Eye. At your questioning look, he squeezed your arm to the point that almost hurts. I'm trapped here. Just let me go, okay? I promise. I don't think you're trapped here, thankfully. Dis breathes a sigh of relief. Thank you, Vissa. He stares at you for a few unnerving seconds, perfectly still before jerking into motion, fishing a pendant necklace from his clothes. He unclasps it from his neck and holds it out to you. Here, he says. You should have this. I want you to have it. I hope the epilogue for Dis is that he grows up to be the expedition's lead. I mean, I know it seems obvious, but I think there's a lot he could do to teach people not to fear the planet and how to safely operate while out on expedition without being massively disruptive. This is a good card. You turn the lamp and put it around your neck. The pendant is large, but surprisingly light. You recognize it as a fragment of Unisar horn. its pearlescent color shimmering in the light. Thank you, it's beautiful. I didn't make it, Dis replies. Venusaur did. I just put on a cord. Thank you. Dis regards you with a serious expression. You're the only person in the colony that I've ever really cared about, he says. I don't know why you bothered to be my friend when I was trying to push everyone away. His mouth bends in a shy little smile. Thank you for sticking with it, he says softly. You don't know how much I appreciate having a friend. He steps away and listens and looks down to the ground, suddenly evasive. Listen, I don't know how much longer I have left here, he says softly. I just want you to know that I want to spend the time I do have with you. That's a really powerful line when you consider it from the perspective of Dis. Like, if that had happened before Dis had planted the bomb, gives it way different context. Because at that point, he's not referring to I might die soon. He's very strictly referring to I'm not sticking around. You're getting some tracking tips from Utopia, learning how to listen for the subtle cues that an animal has been through here, or worse, has been hunting you. She stops and holds up her hand. Shh, she whispers. You hear that? You listen intently to the sounds of the swamp and hear a long, drawn-out hoot. Kind of like an owl, but creepier. Makes you shiver. It's an air squid, Utopia continues. I've been tracking a herd of them for a few days. It's tough going. They float above the ground like float cows. Maybe you'll have better luck. Is it dangerous? Utopia huffs, smiling a little. Right on. They're notoriously deadly hunters. We don't know much about them, but we do know that if you see one, it's probably because it decides it's gonna eat you. The most important thing to do is observe it, says Utopia. If it's not acting aggressive and seems to be migrating away from the colony, then leave it be. Mind you, she says, shrugging. If you get a clear shot, I'll be happy with you, so there's that. A couple surveyors have been laid up by them, she adds, so stay on your guard and stick together. Okay. This is a little bit of a difficult situation because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot. It doesn't seem like the normal events have a whole lot really interesting to go over based on my 3 excursions out here. So I think we're just going to gun it to the end. Well, look at that. It's a Venusaur corpse just rotting here in the thick muck. Maybe it's the one you wounded. Meat isn't edible, but you figure you could harvest that shining horn. Someone will probably want to study it. And that card is so strong for us. So yeah, we're just going to breeze by these events. I get self-conscious about this kind of thing because it's a change to what it's a change to what I've set you up to expect. And I always feel nervous when I change something like that because I'm worried about disappointing people who were expecting something, and now I've changed it without any prior warning. But this just feels like the better option as far as the stream is considered. I don't want us just sitting around going over the same things a lot, and the card challenges take so much time. I want to focus on the story elements here at the end, less than I want to focus on the mechanical side of things. There's something suspiciously regular about this clearing, something that doesn't feel natural. There's something here, I can feel it, Face mutters. I'm not leaving until we figure it out. Don't even think about dragging me down. You always do. Fine, if that's how he wants to play this. You split up and walked opposite sides of the strange clearing to investigate. The muck sand is so even here, like it was smoothed by a giant spatula or vibrated from below to settle perfectly level. You turn to see if Vase has any ideas. Wait, where did Vase go? Vase is gone. You jog over where you last saw him and discover that the ground drops away here to reveal a perfectly person-sized hole. Vase's backpack lies nearby. You must be inside. You call down to him and hear the distorted echo of his voice call back to you. He's found something. Hey! You crawl in after him. The tunnel drops steeply and is no longer and more narrow than you're quite honestly comfortable with. You're relieved when you finally pull yourself to a large cavern. Vase helps you to your feet with a haunted expression, and you rise to see, floating in a huge vat of glowing water, is A faceless vat, like a specimen jar, but massive, is walled on all sides by organic-looking crystal growths, some transparent so you can see the abomination growing inside. The water inside undulates gently, throwing patterns of light on the cavern ceiling. Lights blink on control panels recessed in the walls nearby. What the hell is this place? Face mutters, taking a step towards the vat. That thing alive? Did someone make it? As he steps close, the faceless inside the vat turns to perceive you. Tentacles press against her transparent crystal glass, sensing you. He watches its tentacles stick to the glass, flexing, undulating, extending, its great body distancing itself from the glass until, oh no, crack! The faceless slams itself against the inside the vat, and you hear an ominous cracking noise. You and Vase stand frozen in horror. The only way out being a slow crawl through the belly of the soil behind you, you're trapped. Crack, crack! Water spurts out from the crack, first one jet, and then two, then five, and the whole enclosure buckles and splinters all at once. You and Vase are pelted with crystal shrapnel and unceremoniously knocked to the ground by a literal wall of water. Slam into the cavern wall and black out for just a few seconds, coming back to find yourself still sputtering and flailing as the water quickly drains away into the grates in the floor. The whole room shakes with an ear-splitting roar. The faceless is loose. Vissa! Vase calls out to you. Get up and run! You blink, trying to force your vision to resolve. Vase stands in front of you, his rifle drawn, and beyond Vase, the faceless. The gargantuan form can barely fit in this cavern. Its fleshy tentacles press up against the ceiling, and its tree trunk legs are stuffed awkwardly behind it, underneath it, like a poorly made stuffed animal. Its entire body looks saggy, runny almost. It wasn't entirely done baking in there. It roars again, flecking you both with spittle and vat fluids. Vase gestures towards the hole. Go on, I'll hold it off! Struggle to your feet, the movement making your head pulse and a swell nausea rise in your stomach. You must have cracked yourself really good against that wall. I said get out of my way, Vissa! Vase hollers. This one's mine! The hole is right behind you, and Vase seems determined to throw himself at something really heroic. Take the chance to flee, or going to fight by yourself. I want to fight. We're grabbing him and leaving. I'm not letting someone die. Still not my style. If anyone's going to kill Vase, it's going to be me, and even then I'm probably not actually going to do it. You're not letting Vase die for you. Grab him by the back of his uniform and haul him backwards, dragging him into the tunnel. The creature tries to chase you, laboriously crawling on its belly and reaching with its terrible hive of tentacles for you, but it can't follow you into the tight space. You aren't going to be able to explore this place without going through that faceless first. Will you let me? Will you let me? This is the place. That faceless is still down there, preventing you from exploring the rest of the facility. You'll have to fight it if you want in. I'm guessing that if we didn't have max toughness, that would have left us wounded and we wouldn't be able to go down. Vase regards the hole in the ground with a swagger. The thing is going down, he boasts. Just stay back and watch how a real hero does it. Yes, he's still insistent on killing it himself. Once more, unto the breach. Crawl through the hole and emerge into the crystal vat cavern. The face is still here, seemingly motionless until it senses you. It lunges towards you, but stops a few feet away. It's wedged. The ceiling is just too short for it, giving you a precious few feet of safety in which to compose yourself before confronting it. You think maybe something went wrong in its gestation? Like maybe it wasn't supposed to break out of the vat when it did? Whatever the reason, it's still here and still huge and dangerous. You still need to take care of it before you can explore this room. Oh my god. You have no persuasion though. On second thought, there's no way you're ready to deal with this monster, and you won't let Vase risk his life either. Vase is disgusted by your cowardice, but he follows you back into the tunnel. He knows he can't take this thing on alone. The creature tries to chase you, laboriously crawling on its belly and reaching with its terrible hive of tentacles for you. They can't follow you into the tight space. Oh, that's so frustrating. Okay. And I don't like how Vase's stuff is handled out here. The subaqueous swamp, I understand, is supposed to feel weird and different. It's obviously supposed to. You're not out here for the same reason you're everywhere else. You're here to kill and hunt and murder, and accordingly, you need to be the kind of person that Vase would get along with to make that experience fulfilling. Doesn't make it... It still makes it feel awkward, though, compared to everything else going outside has been like. You hear that creepy hooting sound again. There's Squid Utopia wanting you to track and observe. You know you're getting close, so you better keep your ears sharp. It seems to be on the move. Stop to listen. Oh, got away. Or maybe not. Maybe actually... And that makes me really curious about whether or not we're just going to find other spots like that now. So let's take a look around, shall we? Aha! You swear the air squid must be close. You've been here following its hoot, but you haven't heard it in a while. Look for signs. Air squid don't leave any tracks because they float, but you can see signs of a scuffle nearby, where an air squid must have found prey in the underbrush. Your hollow palm says they dangle... Yeah, we're going to be able to keep going. Cool. Your hollow palm says they dangle their tentacles down and snatch up anything that comes too close. That something must have fought back because you find a short length of air squid tentacle, just 5 centimeters long and still wiggling. A little further on, there's a trail of black blood. The signs are fresh, so it's definitely in the area. You must be further ahead. I have to assume by ahead they mean back here? Question marks? New. Okay. Gonna find an air squid, do-do-do-do-do. Gonna find an air squid, do-do-do-do-do. I kill an air squid, do-do-do-do-do. I'm assuming. We'll see what actually happens when we find it. That's why we hunt. Because we want to know. I want to know. I want to see what the event is like. I enjoy this game and its writing and You and Vase have finally tracked down your prey, the elusive air squid. Its eyeless face resembles scarred gray flesh, like an old shark. Its many gash-like mouths hang open, long needle teeth flexing like gills as it breathes. It looks like something dead washed up on the shore, except floating in the air. Let's observe it. It seems sickly. You watch it drift along, dangling its tentacles close to the ground, searching for prey. The sensitive tentacles can feel vibrations like the beating of a small creature's heart and possibly electric signals. Sensitive tentacles are matched by its sensitive hearing. Of course, it hears you almost instantly. So one thing you learn is that air squid can be frighteningly fast when they need to be. Your quarry pushes its tentacles against the ground to propel itself towards you, like a torpedo made from a dead sea lion crossed with a giant squid. Ugh. That's not a pleasant image, game. That's kind of horrifying. Thanks for that. Alright, let's get it dead. Tracking the air squid. +2 to use the first card, +2 to the last card. That's an amazing card. Cool. You and Vase dispatch the air squid. Its corpse-like body deflates and falls to the ground, oozing gray flesh across the swamp floor. Shit, yeah! Vase slams and fires the rifle in the air in victory. He then insists on taking selfies with his kill, as disgusting as the dead creature is. I hate that we're at 19 friendship with him. I hate it so much. Feels wrong. I should be more clear on that. It feels wrong because because it's not a good person. I don't like that we're comrades in arms. You're doing easy circuits to the flatland just outside the colony with Twilight Sparkle, getting her more used to being under your control while you're riding. She's come a long way since you first captured her, though she's still clearly a wild animal. On one of your laps past the gate, you notice Nomi watching you. You slow down and they slowly approach. That's a Unisaur, right? And they say, linking their hands behind their back. It's so cool! Like a unicorn, but real. Like a lizard horse. I guess that's why they call it Unisaur, right? Is its skin soft or is it tough? Is it, like, warm? Does it let you touch its horn? Aren't you scared of riding it? What if you fall off and tramples you with its claws? Want to ride her? Nomi's eyes light up. Can I? They ask. Can I really? The answer to that question is no, but you do try. Get Nomi into the saddle and give them a quick overview of how to pull on the reins and use your feet to guide Twilight Sparkle. They take off together, Nomi whooping in excitement as they cling to the reins for dear life. Oh no, -5 kudos. They go stampeding through the nearby fields, kicking up big clots of dirt and plants, and hear yelling. Nomi had the time of their life, which almost makes it worth it you both get in trouble for reckless riding. Oh, that's very good. Like quiet goes into early pollen. We check if anyone has anything for us. Looks like a new... talk to Vase. Okay, we'll go talk to Vase. Arrive outside the garrison just as you spy a small unit of young Helio trainees finishing their daily run around the colony. Vase is easily in the lead. You swing yourself up onto the fence and watch as the group breaks up into pairs for the next drill. As unit leader, Vase goes around and corrects everyone's form and checks in on them before he spots you and trots over. "What's up, colony kid?" he says, wiping his forehead. His training shirt clings to his chest, damp with sweat and showing off his muscles. "Miss you out there today. You should come for a run sometime." "Hell yeah," he says, bumping his fist into yours. "Every day at sunrise. If you're late, you have to run it twice." "I've been trying to get the other colony kids out here," Vase continues. "On the Helio, we were raised to believe that physical exertion does more than build muscles. It helps you think more clearly and boosts your immune system too. That's not entirely wrong. Sometimes, though, it can also just be back-breaking. Depends on how you handle it. I'm probably not going to have time to get my morning workout done." He clenches his fist. Not only that, but it strengthens the bond between brothers. It turns men into heroes. Now you see, that's the part that can get unhealthy about it. Ace looks like a hero, you think. Even just standing there, he has the same kind of presence as action heroes in the old vids from Earth. He's so confidently in his element that everything he does looks effortless. You can't imagine him skinning his knee, or having his voice crack, or tripping over his feet, all three of which have happened to you this week. "You're fine." Vase raises eyebrows at you, unimpressed. "Sorry, what? How many colonists have you buried? If that's fine, I'd hate to see what you can consider not fine." Vase picks up his water ball and takes a big swig, rinsing out his mouth before spitting into the dirt. "Not everyone's cut out to be a soldier," he says. "I mean, if we don't have civilians like Tammy out there keeping the hearth, who are we trying to protect? And where would we be without people like Tangent giving us the intel we need?" He shrugs. "An enemy's pretty cool. She's got the right idea. And that Cal guy, he's got the muscle, but..." Vase shakes his head with a snort. "Honestly, you all lack the discipline." "How can you say Tangent lacks discipline? Have you seen what she's like?" "You're feeling self-destructive today, so you go looking for Vase." Such a good line. He finds you first. Clang! Vase gets the drop on you, grabbing you around the neck and slamming you into the metal wall. You're dragged unceremoniously into a side room, Vase's hand clamped across your mouth. He throws you to the ground and you take quick stock of your surroundings. It looks like a munitions room, though it's been mostly emptied, but for a few stacks of boxes. There's no one here except you and Vase. Vase stands over you, placing his heavy boot on your chest to keep you pinned to the ground. "It's time you and I had a little chat, Miss, I don't know what you're talking about." "No," Vase sneers. "Sick of your bloody attitude, Vissa. You can go around disrespecting me, and I'm here to disabuse you of that notion." "Here's what's going to happen," Vase says, deadly calm. "1, I'm gonna beat your ass so hard you're gonna wish you never crawled out from between your mother's piss flaps. 2, you're gonna lie there and take it. And 3, you're gonna wake up somewhere else, knowing that if you ever mouth off to me in front of my men again, next time, you aren't going to wake up." "You're nothing but a bully, Vase." Good. There needed to be a check for that. I didn't care if it was 100 to fight back. There needed to be something. Bully is just a word the weak use to describe the strong. No, it's what we use to describe idiots who happen to be strong. Vase says, grabbing you by the collar of your shirt and lifting your head and shoulders off the ground. He raises his fist to strike you. Fight back. You block Vase's fist with your forearms, protecting your head as he pounds you mercilessly. Due to your defensive training, he only manages to glance a few blows off your ears before he roars in frustration, dropping you to the ground so he can kick you instead. That's your chance. You roll out from under his feet, catching just the tip of his boot as it grazes your ribs. You scramble to your feet and square up with Vase. "Oh, interesting," Vase says, cracking his neck. "Oh, now I gotta do it." If you can hear that, that's because my neck cracks really loud. Vase says, cracking his neck. "That's fine. I can fight fair." "No, you can't. You already started beating me up. You don't get to call it a fair fight now." Whatever Vase is expecting from you, it's not the war cry that tears itself from your throat. He's momentarily stunned, just long enough for you to get in one solid hit. Vase crumples to the ground. Mom always told you that if you have to fight, you'd better kill your opponent in the first. Oh my god. Vase isn't dead, but for a horrifying moment of stillness, you're a little worried. He groans, blood pouring from his nose onto the corrugated metal floor. "Oh shit." He mumbles, and don't you forget it, or, and there's more where that came from. I just imagine Vista doing the come at me. Vase blearily holds his hand to his face, looking up at you in horror. Looks like you're finally speaking the same language. Fear. Eat shit, Vase. Oh, God. Finally. Finally the true and proper punch in the vase. Feels good. Ah, feels good. Let's go and try and find Sim. Oh, I'm a completely non-violent person. The thought of harming another human being physically or emotionally actively makes me feel sick. Video games offer a catharsis for me. Because you do give up a certain amount of power in life feeling that way. I get why people enjoy violence. It's an easy solution for starters, and it is satisfying to put someone in their place like that, but can't do it in real life. Sim materializes out of the forest before you. This, he says gravely. Forgive my directness, but you must come with me now. Last time you died and now you sound grim? He places his hand on your shoulder. Please trust me when I say I have done my best to argue on behalf of your kind. I only hope for the only for the continued survival of humanity. Ominous. Crouches down to slide into a hidden opening under the roots of a tree. You follow, feeling strangely as if you're crawling into the belly of some animal. You emerge into a cave filled with the hum of strange machinery. A bank of ancient-looking controls and a crystal tank of glowing liquid seems almost to have grown out of the natural rock. Mineral deposits from moisture trickling down the walls have reclaimed some of them. Sim leads you to a console. This is the array, he says, pressing what seem to be buttons. As I've explained, this body I wear is only a vessel. My consciousness, the person who I am, is stored in the array. I return to it regularly, storing my body in the regeneration tank, while I back up what I've learned that day into the array. Physical forms are prone to injury and death, Sim says quietly. It is temporary, but highly unpleasant. Therefore, the Overseer prefers to remain in the array. Sim directs you to two weirdly fungal growths. Please, take hold of these interface handles. Cautiously touch the handles and say, I'm with the Overseer, the bodies are a key. The Overseer is a computer, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about this. Nothing to be afraid of. Just a little mind-matter interface. A strange presence speaks into your head. Play cool, play cool, play cool. You can feel the Overseer pause, then a sensation in your mind that reminds you of someone clearing their throat. I am the Overseer, the voice continues. I speak for the gardeners. We will now show you what we are. I'm ready. You have the oddest feeling of memories being inserted into your mind. First a trickle, then a flood. Civilization called the Convergent Domain once existed on this planet over 20,000 years ago. In your mind, you see their dominion stretched from pole to pole, their farms and solar rays glittering on the surface, their massive cities tunneled below. I know about the domain. We are aware of that, the Overseer replies, its voice dry in your mind. We know most everything that happens on this planet. The Convergent Domain created the gardeners as their ecological control system. A vast network of artificial creatures stored deep underground in a digital array. Self-propagating control towers and cloning stations were seeded, allowing a gardener program to take biological form, downloading a copy of its consciousness into a host body created to suit the task at hand. You think of Sim, his body created to suit the task of befriending you? Under the direction of the Convergent Domain, the gardeners controlled the weather, the acidity of the soil, the cultivated species in their farms, and the rapidly shrinking wild areas of the planet. The Overseer doesn't quite sigh, but you get the impression it would. Over time, the Domain nearly destroyed this planet. There were too many of them? Correct, the Overseer responds. They could not stop multiplying with a pride and compulsion that can only come from evolutionary drive. They paved the planet's surface with solar panels. to run their massive underground cities. There were millions of them, then billions, tens of billions, too many for this planet to sustain. The last directive the gardeners were given by the domain was to repair the planet's destroyed ecosystem, the overseer says solemnly. The gardeners tried, but it was too late. When the crops failed, an atmosphere became too thick for sunlight to pierce. The convergent domain perished by the billions. The last survivors took to the sky in colony ships and never returned. You try to imagine a tragedy on the scale, but it's just too enormous, too abstract to wrap your head around. The overseer continues relentlessly, new thoughts flooding into your mind. I mean, this is essentially just what our parents ran from Earth for. Over the millennia, the gardeners took their tasks seriously. It takes little effort to render a planet inhospitable, but significant dedication to restore it. Under the guidance of the gardeners and the final directive of the convergent domain, nature at last reclaimed the barren planet. The garden existed in perfect balance, and now your species invaded it. We had nowhere else to go. Your kind had the option to stay where they were. The overseer replies, the tone of its thoughts darkening. Do you think we have empathy for the convergent domain who fled on colony ships? The ones who selfishly refused to give their bodies back to the planet they destroyed with their pride? You chose to come here, the overseer continues, and you continue to stay here. You could instead choose to die. You shudder involuntarily. Some Vertumnan species have a technique of future sight, which the gardeners harness to catch glimpses into the web of timelines. We see that you possess this technique too, alone in your kind. We have foreseen that humans pose a great danger to this planet. You are a monoculture, an invasive species. You throw our hard-won balance in disarray. Since arriving, you have shown nothing but a willingness to consume the planet's resources and replace them with more humans. That's not incorrect. My personal belief is that humans are capable of at some point in the far, 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 far future, developing a system of colonization and expansion that is thoughtful and balanced to the point of being able to create the resources necessary for humans to survive, live, and thrive without exploiting things to the point of absolute destruction. A lot of that will come from major technological advances such as robotics and major social and political changes that will have to come in the future. And that's not me shouting for rebellion here in the present. It's a matter of even the concept of democracy as it was done in Rome has changed massively. Even our democracy has evolved, and elements of it that haven't evolved, well, they're showing their own strain. We didn't even know you were here. We have as much right to live as anything. We have as much right to live as anything. Your mind fills with images of species rising and going extinct over thousands of years. Animals, with their short lives, are ignorant creatures. You say that like some animals don't live hundreds of years. They care only for survival and for the survival of their children. They have no concept of a legacy that spans the lifetime of a planet. They cannot be blamed, for living is their only purpose. Okay, so I know the point they're making is that we choose to do and be more than just live, but this is what I'm talking about when I say that the writing in this game kind of ticks me off sometimes because it's extremely blunt about a message that requires a lot of nuance. This is what people mean when they are well-intentioned saying that games shouldn't be political, because this is a political statement the game is making, and it sounds so preachy. This is not that there happens to be politics in this game, and there should be politics in this game. This is egregious, though, when combined with everything else. The voice of a planet telling us we are selfish and awful and should die for it. But humans are animals with the power of gods. You consume recklessly, and your ceaseless fear of death fouls your every action. You shape the planet, you bend nature to your will, thinking only of yourselves. This is a power no animal should have. Most gardeners would prefer to stamp you humans out like encroaching weeds, the overseer says without malice. Indeed, we have tried, using ecologically compliant organic methods. We are impressed at your tenacity to withstand these eradication procedures. The yearly attacks, the famine, the pollen, not random natural occurrences at all, but gardeners' tactics to encourage the eradication of pests. But symbiosis speaks in defense of your kind, the overseer continues, and took effort to convince us that you are sentient and capable of communication. You present us with a quandary. You come from the stars, refugees of a catastrophe of your own design, one that you are intent to recreate here, on a planet which still bears the scars of the last time it was used carelessly. So we ask, what are we to do with you? Humans can change, help us. I mean, this is where I always come down on, and I've been told that I can be an infuriating centrist at times. Progress happens over time, and you should scream and shout and be vocal about it. People who make messages like this are doing something good because they're trying to get people to think about it, to think beyond the scope of things that we have already. I commented in the series that expanding perspective is basically my entire goal in life. I also believe that you can attempt to push things too far and dream of a reality that is simply not possible within our lifetime. And if that is what you are preaching and pushing all of the time, then you're pushing something that isn't useful, because all you're doing is creating negative feedback for yourself. The same response I've had already, where it gets so much and is so far from the state that we're in that it simply isn't possible. But the level to which it's being yelled at to you, the level of uncompromising vision it is. Our conversation with Cal is a perfect example of that. Cal says everything except perfect peace is nonsense. And that in itself is nonsense, because we are not that close to a utopian situation. We simply aren't. And eventually you have to learn how to give to what reality is, or you're never going to find the common ground necessary to get anything to move forward. So help us. Don't kill us. Help us, and understand that, like your ecosystem, it takes time. So we teach your kind to be stewards of nature, the overseer replies. Perhaps your children take up the mantle as well, and their children. Why isn't Dis having this conversation? He wants to be that. Two of us want to be that. But soon you are dead, as are your children's children. Generations pass. No one alive remembers the time the gardeners came to the humans and taught them the proper ways to live. And now there are too many of you to teach, and your behavior too entrenched. What then? Genocide? That's a... Okay, now I'm actually pissed. That's such horseshit biblical type of crap. Holy... I hate it. It's like they think that you can't build a society on a concept and then have the society grow on it. But if you look at the fucking Helios, you see an entire group of people, several hundred strong, all raised with very specific beliefs that are entrenched in them immediately, and that they are now attempting to pass directly on to anyone and everyone around them. And that would happen. Like, that's why America is the way it is in so many respects, is because this has been generational growth for over 100 years of teaching and telling us specific things that it's almost impossible to fully break away from them. There's times all the time that I recognize things that I found acceptable that aren't, just because the fact that it's the way I was raised and it's the culture I'm in. Oh, I hate this. I hate this so much. I hate that I don't get to answer that. There's silence in your head, and you only hear the sound of water trickling down the cave walls and the gentle hum of the machines. Eventually, the Overseer speaks in your mind one last time. But now, you may leave freely. We will consider this quandary, and we will be monitoring you and the other humans. You feel a strange pull at your consciousness as you remove your hands from the interface. There you have it, Sim murmurs. That is my boss. Your boss needs to get out more. Sim huffs, like he's afraid to laugh. He walks over and runs his hand over the consoles. And now you know how to connect to the array, he says quietly. But you should not come here unless I am with you. Sim takes your hands and looks at you solemnly. When you interface with the array, you hold everything we are in your hands. It took a great deal of negotiating to convince my fellow gardeners to trust you with this power. Please, do not prove this trust mistaken. His augment is that he is an AI construct. Sim nods as you approach. Just the human I wanted to see, he says with a solemn smile. The Overseer would like to speak to you again. I have an episode to wrap up this. Oh my god, okay. Sim leads you to the same cave as before. Nothing has changed, and you get the impression that nothing much does change here. You place your hands on the handles of the array and wait. We have thought over our conversation. You feel the Overseer in your mind. We considered that symbiosis may be corrupt and in need of reabsorption, but his affection for your species is genuine. So, we have an offer to make you. Humans wield godlike powers, but lack the capacity to understand the consequences of their actions. The Overseer explains. You have no connection to the land you claim, beyond the short, brutal window of your own consciousness. Our offer is this. We will not eradicate your colony. Instead, you will be tended to, just as the gardeners tend to the rest of the planet. You will be given fresh water, clean air, and good soil, and be protected from outside harm. In exchange, humans will stay within their colony and limit their population growth so as to maintain the balance within the habitat. You will not leave this territory to procure more resources. You will cease all hunting, logging, and expansion outside of your valley. Like a human nature reserve. More or less, the Overseer responds. You are a curiosity to us as well as a sentient species. We would like to preserve you without endangering the ecological balance of the planet. Now, you will go and convince the others of your species to agree to our compromise. Eat shit, you asshole. You will help, the Overseer states, because it is better to live a quiet, dignified life in harmony with nature than to die screaming in your beds after we unleash a neurotoxic gas into your colony. The Overseer pauses to let the threat sink in. You wonder if it's a bluff, or if you're only alive because the gardeners tried more organic pest control methods first. An envoy will visit in glow season to discuss it formally, it continues. To be clear, an armed envoy. We trust you will change your mind by then. Sim looks worried as you remove your hands from the array. I fought hard for them to consider options other than eradication, he says, wringing his hands. I beg you to reconsider. Your people will not have a better chance at survival. As Sim leads you back to the surface, you quietly wonder at him. This man, or rather this artificial intelligence resembling a man, has pushed his directives to the limit to help humanity. His interest started with mere curiosity, but over time he's come to love humans and value your survival. Has he made a mistake? So, why am I a violent fuck no? I feel like I've done a bunch of preaching this episode and I don't like it. But That's why just preaching at people doesn't work, is it incites a reaction that brings out their own strongest response, typically against whatever you're saying, because you've presented them no option. It's either completely agree or completely fight back. So, I am a proponent of free will above and beyond anything else. The concept that us as a species cannot understand the consequences of our actions is nonsensical, because we have demonstrated, especially in the last 50 or so years, our ability to understand and adapt to the damage we are doing to our own planet, and steadily getting more understanding. The downside is there's a lot of history working against us, a lot of time where we didn't have the knowledge to be able to do that. And we're still a long way away from being able to establish a type of balance that we would like, but that doesn't mean we're not trying. Even just looking at how we've embraced the consequences of our decisions as they affect ourselves. The development of city planning, of how medicine works, of how technology works to interconnect us. There's so many examples of us changing to embrace the fact that we are a flawed species and we need to work to correct actions that have happened in the past. And it takes time and it's hard, and that's why I hate messages like this that are like, you need to give up on free will because you're a piece of shit. We are getting better. It's just that you can tell this is made by short-lived humans because they have the mega monolith species speaking to us from a perspective like we cannot grow, like we cannot be tended to be something better. You're getting accustomed to navigating the thick, choking pollen in the Valley of Vertigo. Sorry, I just need to finish this. They commented that we're sentient like it's a novelty. That's the way Sim sees us. That's why I don't like Sim that much, honestly. Sentience isn't a novelty, it's a gift and a burden and a curse. But it also is the thing that allows there to be hope. We aren't simply adapting to a harmony in our environment, we're trying to make it and everything else better. To create a better situation, to rise above our station. That's something special. And we're steadily getting better at it. I don't have the patience to talk through just foraging right now after all that. I need to go take a break just because I need to calm myself down to focus on the second half of the year, because I'm genuinely ticked off. That's so annoying to me. I despise that kind of preachy nonsense, especially when it talks down the potential of humanity to the degree that that does. Like we are nothing but garbage, can be nothing but garbage, and have never grown throughout our history. Yeah, I'll see you all soon. Have the best day that you possibly can. And take care of yourselves, because you are worth something and you're worth keeping alive.